Ladies and gents, I'm the one and only DJ Storms, standard bearer of greatness, Antichrist of the IWC. Welcome to the Lightning Flash update for June 27th, 2020, as we are just on the heels of July. We are on the heels of July. Month 4 of this pandemic is coming to a close. And I've got plenty of things to keep me busy throughout the course of the summer, as of course my online class, as you already know, and by the way, I'm kicking ass there, because I'm just that damn good. I've been kicking ass there, been working, and of course, I got this, my pride and joy, my greatest creation, the DJ Storms brand. But I got plenty of content coming up for you guys. A couple of announcements, if you guys don't already know. Next Monday, in 2 days actually, 2 days, the rundown for AEW Fyter Fest will premiere live at 3 p.m. Eastern Time with special guest Mr. Earl Cole. He was on the channel for the rundown for NXT TakeOver in your house, and now he's coming back. He is coming back for the rundown for AEW Fyter Fest, which of course is the 2-week event. We are going to be breaking down all 10 matches taking place at Fyter Fest, and of course, I will also be doing a rewind, 2 separate rewinds actually, a rewind for night 1 and a rewind for night 2. I am not going to be doing a review of Dynamite or Fyter Fest, for the Lightning Flash update next week or the week after that. I'm going to specifically be doing a separate rundown for that. I hope you guys have been doing all right. Hope you guys have been keeping your sanity. Hope you guys have been been making sure everything is in check. Of course, we've been having a few relapses here and there with the states and this COVID panic. Of course, the WWE has made themselves look like a complete embarrassment, as you already know, with what happened with dozens and dozens and dozens of wrestlers testing positive for COVID, Renee Young included, Caleb Braxton included. But I got a lot of news and rumors to go over, and of course I got 6 weekly shows to go over, and it could very well be 6 weekly shows forever, because what's been going on, WWE is actually considered closing NXT UK because of the speaking out movement and how the British wrestling scene is just in shambles over this. And to be quite honest, it's probably the best route to go. But as far as the weekly show reviews go, I got 6 weekly shows to go over. Plenty to talk about heading into July and heading into the next set of pay-per-views with Fyter Fest and, of course, Extreme Rules. The horror show, as they're calling it. Fitting. But before we get into the news, rumors, and reports, and I think I'm going to make that a reoccurring thing now. I'm going to start off with the news, rumors, and reports, and then I'll talk about the weekly show. So, news, rumors, and reports is going to start off first here on the Lightning Flash update from here on out. But first things first, I need you guys to do me a favor. I need you guys to follow me on Twitter at HistoryMakerDJS. I need you guys to follow me on Instagram and Periscope at TheDJStorms. Add me on Facebook as well. For collaborations and business inquiries, please send me an email. My email is StormsTakeOver@gmail.com. Please like the official DJ Storms business page, and I may just send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms posse group on Facebook, that is. All links are in the description. The Undertaker has officially retired. For those of you who do not already know, yes, I know it may come as a shock to you, but after 30 years in the business, Undertaker is finally retired, and I actually did a little tribute video to The Undertaker where I talked about my top 5 favorite Undertaker matches of all time. That link is in the description. Please go check that one out. Please try and get that one to 30 likes. It's only at 20. I had a feeling that wasn't doing as well, that wasn't going to do as well as the past videos, but try and get that to at least 30. Now, the Lightning Flash update from last week exceeded like goals. That got over 40 likes and over 220 views. So if you could do the same thing for this Lightning Flash update, I would greatly appreciate it. Please hit that thumbs up. Keep on hitting the thumbs up. As soon as you come in, you gotta hit the thumbs up. And when you hit the thumbs up, you gotta comment down below. Comment down below on your thoughts about the news, rumors, and reports, which we're going to get into. And then on top of that, when you comment, then you gotta hit that subscribe button, as we are on the road to 2100. DJ 2K became a reality, but I'm greedy. I'm a greedy son of a bitch. I want more. So I need you guys to hit that subscribe button. And when you hit that subscribe button, you gotta hit the notifications bell with a huge coup de grace. That way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, it is the best time to be on YouTube. It's the only time you're going to see this glorious sideburn chin strap combination, this beautiful quarantine mustache. As of course you already know, I am the standard bearer of greatness. Everybody wants a piece of the Stormsmeister. Everybody wants to look like this. If you don't, then, you pretty much don't want to succeed at life. But anyway, enough about me being the cocky prick that I am. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be a cocky prick plenty more times in this video. But first things first, we are going to get straight into the news, rumors, and reports here on the Lightning Flash Update. We got a lot to talk about, actually, including the report that we're going to start off with, according to a report from Ringside News. And it has been confirmed on Smackdown as well. WWE planning to have another big cinematic match at Extreme Rules between Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman, and it will reportedly have a lot of quote-unquote shocking moments. Now, I'm not sure what this actually means. It could mean that we could see the return of Eric Rowan. It could mean that we could see the return of the Fireflies. We could see all these people in lamb masks surrounding Braun Strowman. We could see a lot of interesting brawls. We could see a brawl on top of the Wyatt family compound. We could see Braun Strowman throw Bray Wyatt into the swamp. And it was confirmed that it's going to be a swamp fight, and it's going to be a non-title match. Now, I figured that I'd talk about this now as opposed to saving it for the SmackDown review, because I actually got some things to say about this. Now, I don't necessarily mind this. I think this is possibly the best route to go for this specific match. It could actually make the match and the program a little bit more enjoyable, because, realistically speaking, when is anything Braun Strowman related ever enjoyable since his feud with Roman Reigns, to be quite honest with you? And that's saying something. But I don't mind this being a cinematic match. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, I really don't mind it. And to be quite honest, it's possibly the best route to go. And for those of you complaining, well, why is it non-title? You're really going to put the Universal Championship on the line in a fucking swamp fight? It wouldn't really make any sense. This isn't even necessarily going to be an actual match. This is going to be an actual match with pinfalls and submissions or countouts. This is just going to be a straight-up fight in a swamp. So at the end of the day, what does it matter if it's title or non-title? If the title's on the line, then that more than likely means that Braun Strowman would have to retain. Because this is ultimately going to set up Braun Strowman and The Fiend at SummerSlam, and The Fiend is going to take the Universal title from Braun Strowman then. Now here, if it's non-title, this could possibly open up the door for cult leader Bray Wyatt to come out victorious, since it's on his home turf. Now, I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. It could possibly happen. That's one route that they could go, but this is the route that I think that they could go. Now, this is just my creative juices flowing, but you guys tell me what you think about this. I have a feeling that we could see this big brawl in the swamp, and then Bray Wyatt is on the verge of victory, but Braun Strowman takes advantage and throws Bray Wyatt into the swamp. Bray Wyatt goes underneath the water, and Braun Strowman thinks he's won. Braun Strowman leaves. He goes to leave, drive away, or walk away, and then after he's away, after he's left the scene, you're going to see The Fiend crawl out of the swamp, which ultimately will set up the match between The Fiend and Braun Strowman for the Universal title at SummerSlam, and The Fiend is going to come out victorious and get the title back that he should have never lost back at the end of February. Now, that's just what I think is going to happen. I don't know necessarily what's going down. You guys can give me your thoughts on that, but that seems as though the route that they're going to go. Now, cult leader Bray Wyatt could very well come out victorious, and to be quite honest, if the match is on his home turf, which it is, it would only make sense. But I don't necessarily mind this. I actually think that if they want to get creative with it, they could very well put out a very innovative match. I don't think it's going to be as good as the Boneyard match. It could very well have a Boneyard match type vibe. But ultimately, I don't think it's going to be as good as the Boneyard match. I certainly think it could very well be better than the Firefly Funhouse match. We'll see what happens, but ultimately, that's pretty much all I can say about it. Moving on to another report from Sean Ross Sapp. Hey, Sean, how are you? A Fightful. He blocked me, by the way, because I'm a prick, and I take great pride in being one. So, this idiot reported that Elias could very well be out until WrestleMania 37 next year. He said, and I quote, "Elias got run over by that car in a segment a couple of weeks ago, but he's got a torn pectoral and may not be back till WrestleMania 37, end quote." Now, Elias has certainly gotten a little bit better from last year, because last year it was just a complete waste. It was just a complete waste of time. He actually has gotten a little bit better this year. He has a new sense of focus, I will say, but at the end of the day, Elias isn't going to move the needle. Elias doesn't really add anything. He doesn't really have a major impact on the show or the company or a feud or a match, any type of program as a whole. He does not really have a major impact. He realistically is a dead act. Right now, he realistically is a dead act, and that's WWE's fault. That's WWE's fault for not capitalizing on the opportunity when they had the chance with him back in 2017 and 2018. He could have been the next Honky Tonk Man, the next Jeff Jarrett as Intercontinental Champion. They didn't do that. They didn't do that for whatever reason. They did the same thing that they did with Braun Strowman that they did with Elias. They held him back, they wasted their opportunity, and they did not capitalize when the time was right. So, look, I wish Elias a speedy recovery, but ultimately Elias isn't really going to add anything to the show. Realistically, Elias is a dead act, and he's just there. He's just another body that's there. So I wish Elias a speedy recovery, but ultimately, he's really not going to help the program at all. Moving on, I got some news on the Smackdown Hacker. Now, you haven't heard that name in a while. Matter of fact, I don't think we've heard anything from the Smackdown Hacker in about a month. So Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer Radio, he noted that Mustafa Ali was actually originally set to be revealed as the Smackdown Hacker. It is unclear if WWE dropped the storyline with Ali's recent move to Monday Night Raw, and I actually reported that last week. Meltzer stated, and I quote, "On the roster pages, Ali has been quietly moved to Raw. At the same time, the guy backstage who sees all of what takes place in secret on SmackDown, which was originally set to be revealed as Ali, has disappeared from television," end quote. This sucks. This sucks. This sucks for multiple reasons. This sucks for multiple reasons, mainly because of the fact that Ali, he's great at what he does. He's a great wrestler as a whole, and he has a great gimmick to be the light. He has a great babyface gimmick. Ali is a natural babyface. And I have been a believer of Mustafa Ali. I've been a believer in Mustafa Ali ever since that 2 out of 3 falls match with Drew Gulak 3 years ago, back in 2017. And I have loved what Mustafa Ali has had to offer. Matter of fact, Mustafa Ali should have been Cruiserweight Champion when 205 Live was its own entity. Mustafa Ali should have been Cruiserweight Champion. I have loved everything that Ali is, and I'm still pissed that they have not pushed Mustafa Ali towards the Intercontinental Championship like he should have. Realistically, he should have been the one to take the title off of Shinsuke Nakamura, not Braun Strowman. He should have been the one to take the title off of Shinsuke Nakamura, and the fact that they didn't do it is just a fucking sin in its own right. This mainly sucks because while this SmackDown Live Hacker wasn't necessarily the most interesting thing, and while it really realistically wouldn't have sat well initially, I have a feeling that if it was set to be Ali, I have a feeling people would have gotten used to it and people really would have gravitated towards Ali, because this would have shown that the company is finally starting to invest their time in him. And I'm not sure whether this was a Bruce Pritchard initiative or if this was a Vince McMahon initiative, but the SmackDown Live Hacker, it had a sense of intrigue. And if it was set to be Ali, it really would have shown that finally, WWE was starting to get behind Ali, and they were finally going to push him into a role that people can actually gravitate towards, and people were going to see him more, and that could eventually lead him to a potential championship reign, possibly as the Intercontinental Champion. And on top of that, the fact that they're planning on dropping it, and it's unclear if they dropped it or not, and if they did drop it, it would suck if they did. It doesn't just suck that they just dropped it because Ali has now been quietly moved to Raw. It sucks because the Smackdown Live hacker played a big role in the Otis-Mandy Rose storyline. And the fact that now they just dropped it, and they're not even going to announce it. Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose and Otis, they haven't even announced it. They haven't even acknowledged the fact that this SmackDown Live hacker was part of the reason why this feud between Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville ignited in the first place. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me, and it really does suck. Ali's now been moved to Monday Night Raw. Bruce Pritchard's taken over both shows now. And like I said last week on the LFU, I really don't see Ali going anywhere. If he didn't go anywhere on SmackDown, initially, and Bruce Pritchard was running that show for months now. Bruce Pritchard's been running that show throughout 2020, well before he took over Raw. Quote unquote, took over Raw. And if they didn't do anything with Ali, they didn't do anything with him, especially if he was revealed to be the SmackDown Live hacker, or if he was set to be revealed as the SmackDown Live hacker, they didn't do anything with him then. Do you expect them to do anything with Mustafa Ali on Monday Night Raw now? Now, Ali realistically could be the next United States champion, but do I think they're going to do that? No, and I'm going to explain why when we get to the Raw review. Speaking of SmackDown, a SmackDown Live tag team is in deep shit after what happened a few weeks back with Jackson Ryker. According to a report from WrestlingNews.co, there is talk about the Forgotten Sons getting a new gimmick after Jackson Ryker generated heat from the WWE locker room. Sounds like WWE could be keeping Blake and Cutler together, but they could very well remove Ryker from the group. The report states, and I quote, "There has been talk of a new gimmick for Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake when they return to television. I don't know when they will return to WWE TV, but one person I spoke with says that their current gimmick won't work now because of what is going on in the real world with the protests around the country." As previously noted, there are several wrestlers in the company who were furious when they read Ryker's comments on social media, while a few others were willing to talk with him and tried to help him understand why there is a Black Lives Matter movement. As of this writing, I have not heard anything yet if Ryker has reached out to anyone in the locker room who was upset with him. End quote. Now, I have no problem with peaceful supporting. Of course, we have freedom of speech here in the United States, but at the same point in time, there's a difference between if I was to peacefully support someone versus if someone like a Jackson Ryker was to peacefully support someone. Number one rule in the workplace: politics, do not discuss. I work at a supermarket, and whether people are Democrat or Republican, whoever they support, whatever stances they have, we don't talk. We do not talk about that. We keep it professional, we keep it civil, we keep it real. No politic talk in the workplace. Now, when I step out of that workplace and when I'm not on the clock, that's a different story. We can do whatever we want. We can peacefully support, we can speak, we can go out and protest wherever we want. We can't do that when we're on the clock. That's different versus if someone is in the position of Jackson Ryker, because Jackson Ryker is a public figure. You are a public figure employed by a company, and you have a specific image that you need to keep. You have a specific image that you need to keep because that is ultimately your job. You see, this is not my job. I can say whatever the fuck I want, whether it be related to the topic at hand or not. Now, I have no problem with peacefully supporting the president, but at the same point in time, if you are a public figure, then there's certain things that you can't say when you are a public figure. That's rule number one. You need to keep it professional. You need to keep it civil. You need to keep it to yourself. Politics in the workplace, especially if you're a public figure, no politic talk, even on social media. Keep that behind closed doors. Do not put that on social media. And of course, that is what led the backlash towards Jackson Ryker, and that is what has led WWE to take the Forgotten Sons off of television. Again, When you are a public figure, whether you work for a wrestling company, whether you work for a major league sports league like NFL or MLB, NBA, NHL, if you're a celebrity, if you're a movie star, whoever you may be, you got a public image. And when you put certain things out there in the public image, you're going to get people that are going to be hostile. You're going to get people that are not going to take it the right way, and you're going to get people who are not going to accept your opinion for what it is, because no one's allowed to have an opinion in 2020. It is what it is. And to be quite honest, it sucks that Wesley Blake and Steve Cutler and their push is going to be halted because of what's going on with Jackson Riker. Moving on, I got a report, another report from Dave Meltzer, actually. So Dave Meltzer reported that Charlotte Flair is actually set for surgery, which is why she was taken off of television this past Monday on Raw. As you guys already know, he stated, and I quote, "Charlotte Flair is having surgery, and that's the deal as far as why they did what they did. I've asked a couple of people, and nobody knows the time frame, but she's definitely having surgery, and that's what the storyline was to explain. Was to explain her being gone." I think SummerSlam, it was sort of hinted to me, they hope SummerSlam, but that's not 100% either, end quote. Now, following up on this report, Alex McCarthy at TalkSport actually noted that his sources told him that there's a 0% chance that Flair will be back by SummerSlam, and there's been talks about Flair returning at the Royal Rumble of next year. But then all of a sudden I hear reports about WWE trying to make plans for Charlotte Flair's return already. You're making plans for Charlotte Flair's return before she's even had this surgery and before you even know the time frame of her being out. Are you serious? You're making plans. You're making plans for Charlotte Flair before she's even had the surgery and before you even know the time frame of her being out. Meanwhile, you have an entire roster at your disposal that you're not even utilizing to its full potential. So much so that you brought Sasha Banks over from SmackDown, which I'm going to talk about when we get to the Raw review. You brought Sasha Banks over from SmackDown to face off against Asuka when Sasha Banks isn't even a part of the Monday Night Raw roster. Yeah, it's going to be a great match, and yeah, it plays up to the storyline of her and Bayley, and Bayley's more than likely going to make it out of Extreme Rules with her titles. Sasha Banks is not going to make it out of Extreme Rules with 2 titles. So at the same point in time, yeah, it does play up to the storyline, and we're going to get a great match. It's going to be a great women's wrestling match, but at the same point in time, you're putting Sasha in that scenario and shafting people like Shayna Baszler, who Vince McMahon has soured on. I don't even know why. Shayna Baszler, Ruby Riott, who apparently made her return, and now they're thrusting her back into a storyline with Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan is another one. You got Natalya, Bianca Belair, who has not been seen in 2.5 months. 2.5 months. And you're making plans for Charlotte Flair's return. Becky Lynch was gone. That was your opportunity to push new women. Charlotte Flair is now gone. Now you have another opportunity to push new women. And you're still not taking advantage of that opportunity. You're still not taking advantage of that opportunity, and you're already making plans for Charlotte Flair's return when you don't even know how long she's going to be gone. What, are you going to have her win the Royal Rumble for a second fucking year in a row? Come on! I say it all the time. The blatant favoritism towards Charlotte Flair, it is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting because I want to see new talent succeed. I think everyone wants to see new talent succeed. Everyone's in the same boat as me on there. I know a lot of people don't see eye to eye with me based on how I present myself. And yeah, I present myself like a prick, and I'm proud to present myself like a prick. But at the same point in time, underneath that is a lot of valid points if you actually listen to me. I want to see new talent succeed. I don't understand why WWE has constantly reverted back to the same people over and over again. People were saying that Charlotte Flair was set for an immediate push after she just lost the NXT Women's Championship. Ridiculous. I don't know what's going on there. I'll keep you guys updated as far as Charlotte Flair goes. My final report, before we get into the weekly show reviews for this week. Wrestling Observer Radio noted that now that Paul Heyman is gone, because he was quote-unquote in charge, Vince can do things his way. WWE has been trying to draw fans back by utilizing legends. Vince has no desire to create new stars. Does this surprise me? Absolutely not. The report is that the steadily dropping Raw ratings have left Vince and Bruce with no other option than to book Raw on a weekly basis rather than thinking ahead and trying to build new stars. It doesn't surprise me whatsoever because this is the same man that blamed Brock Lesnar for the declining ratings. And here's what I want to know. And I ranted on this back on the Lightning Flash update back on February 29th, I believe. About 4 months ago. I ranted on this on the Lightning Flash update. What is Vince McMahon going to do when all of this nostalgia and all of these legends can't be utilized anymore? That's what I want to know. He is so focused on drawing people back right now and utilizing all these legends like Christian and putting Edge and Randy Orton in the main event of Backlash. You're going to draw back people with the fucking Big Show. You're going to bring in Ric Flair. You're going to bring in Stone Cold. You're going to bring in Goldberg. You're going to bring in The Undertaker. You're so focused on utilizing all these legends, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do when those legends are gone? Undertaker is retired. Are you really going to bring him back just for a 5-minute promo just to try and draw some people in? What are you going to do? You're going to have Goldberg and The Undertaker in the main event of WrestleMania 45 when they're both in wheelchairs? You're going to have Monday Night Raw from the cemetery when Ric Flair has passed away? What are you going to do when Edge and Randy Orton have retired? What are you going to do when the Big Show's retired? What are you going to do when Christian does not want to come back for any more appearances? What are you going to do? Are you then going to realize, oh shit, I should have utilized the talent that I have and I should have built the future? You sacrificed the Fiend for Goldberg so that way he can go up against Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns, he stepped away for his health. And you know what? After everything that's happened, Roman Reigns looks like a genius. Roman Reigns looks like Albert Einstein. Matter of fact, I actually respect Roman Reigns more. More so than ever. I'm actually a Roman Reigns advocate because of what he did. And you know, side topic here before I continue to rant about this. Side topic here, do you realize that after all of these cases came back positive of all these wrestlers in the WWE being diagnosed with COVID-19? I just thought about this. I was thinking about this last night when I was watching Smackdown, and I was scrolling through my timeline, and I'm seeing all these reports of all these wrestlers having COVID. I was thinking about this. Can you imagine if someone, God forbid, can you imagine if someone, God forbid, was to pass away because of COVID, because of the negligence of Vince McMahon? A lawsuit would be coming, and they would get dozens of media headlines across the fucking nation. I'm telling you, it would be worse than what happened with Benoit back in 2007. So much so, they would not make it out of it unscathed. Vince would probably be forced to retire. He would probably be forced to resign because of the stockholders' complaints. Guarantee you. If someone were to pass away, God forbid, the media headlines would be so bad they would not make it out of it unscathed. If there's one thing that could put WWE out of business, it's that. And I've said dozens of times that nothing's going to put WWE out of business. But that could very well do that. Vince McMahon may have no choice but to resign if that's the case because of his pure negligence. There's even a report that Kevin Dunn, Triple H, and Vince McMahon haven't even reached out to Renee Young after she was diagnosed with COVID. If that doesn't go to show you that WWE legitimately doesn't care about its employees, I don't know what does. Back to this now. Not creating new stars. Does this surprise me? I've said it once and I've said it again. Absolutely not. Matter of fact, I'm still looking for that tape recorder. That would be very useful right now because, again, there's nothing that I can say and there's nothing that the people like me can say, people across the community can say that we haven't already said before about this specific topic. Vince McMahon, he is so blinded by his own greed. Blinded by his own greed that he's putting these legends out there because he thinks he's going to draw fans back. Meanwhile, you had Ric Flair, you had The Big Show, you had Randy Orton all on Monday Night Raw, you had all these people on Monday Night Raw, you had these legends on Monday Night Raw, and what happened this week? Championship Monday. You had 4 championship matches as well, and legends on Monday Night Raw, and the ratings went down from the previous week. The decline's already starting. The decline is already starting. Paul Heyman at least had the balls to take a risk. He had the balls to take a risk, and he had the balls to actually build towards some stars, so that way they would be on the same level as the people that Vince is trying to bring back. If they would actually spend some time on building their roster, then that way, stars like Black and stars like Cruz and guys like McIntyre, guys like Asuka, guys like Ruby Riott or Shayna Baszler, people like the Street Profits, people like the Viking Raiders, if they would actually put some effort into the people that they're building up and portray them as serious competitors with legitimacy and credibility, and I got plenty to say on legitimacy and credibility when we get to Raw and SmackDown. Legitimacy and credibility, two main factors that all superstars must have. If they would actually focus on building legitimacy and credibility for the roster, then maybe those people would be at least a little bit closer to the level that Ric Flair and Randy Orton and Edge are on. That way, those stars will be on that level, and those stars will eventually become bigger draws, and those stars will eventually become must-see, and the people will tune into Raw, or they'll tune into SmackDown to see those specific stars. Guys like Black, and guys like Apollo Crews, and the Street Profits, and the Viking Raiders, and Asuka, and everyone like that. But they choose not to do that. For what reason, I don't know, because Vince McMahon, he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. That wraps up the news, rumors, and reports. We're going to head into the weekly show reviews. I just need to take a drink. Side note, I'm feeling like some homemade pizza tonight. I think I'm going to have some homemade pizza. I'm going to get probably get some pasta. Some pasta with some homemade pizza. Pasta and homemade pizza. That sounds like a great idea. Maybe I'll eat that one day when I got my tape recorder. Moving on to the weekly show reviews, we had Monday Night Raw, and again, I stated 4 championship matches, and the show still wasn't adequate. Still wasn't adequate. 3 highlight show. So Drew McIntyre kicked off the show. Mid-promo, Dolph Ziggler interrupts Drew. So Ziggler said he has been traded to Raw along with Robert Roode. So we got another tag team on Monday Night Raw that could actually add to the division. I have no problem with that. But then he talked about Drew McIntyre's redemption story. And Dolph took credit for bringing Drew back to Raw, becoming champions with him, the tag team champions. And now he became WWE champion, did Drew McIntyre. Dolph says now he has come back to get what he is owed, a WWE Championship match. Drew says that Dolph has become an entitled jackass. Drew asked if he really wanted this match, and the match was made for Extreme Rules. I really don't understand. The mentality of WWE. They do this all the time. Was the promo bad? No, the promo wasn't necessarily bad. I'm not going to tell you that Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler are bad at cutting promos. Is it going to be a great match? More than likely than not, it will be a great match. That's fine and all, but where's the legitimacy? Where's the credibility? WWE has done this every single time, and it doesn't matter with what championship they use. It could be the tag team championships, it could be the Women's Championship, could be the U.S. Championship, could be the Intercontinental Championship, could be the WWE Championship. They do this every single time, and they did it later on this week with the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. This is the third time that they've done this with Drew McIntyre, and they have put up a challenger against Drew McIntyre that has zero legitimacy and credibility towards challenging for the WWE Championship, and they need to rely on the match itself to deliver. You lucked out twice with Drew McIntyre. You lucked out with Seth Rollins at Money in the Bank. You got a great match. You lucked out with Bobby Lashley at Backlash. You got a great match. But no one gave a shit about the program. No one gave a shit about the build because neither Lashley nor Rollins had any legitimate cases of why they should be challenging for the WWE Championship. Will you luck out a third time with Ziggler? Perhaps. But how many more times can you do this before it becomes stale? A great match is one thing, and I'm all for great wrestling. Matter of fact, wrestling is number one in 2020. Wrestling is the first thing that I look towards when I watch a wrestling program. I look towards seeing great wrestling matches because that is what I'm all about. I love great wrestling. I love competition. I love to see two guys go in there and bust their ass for our entertainment, and I respect that. But at the same point in time, you're not giving anyone a reason to be invested in this. Is it going to be a great match? More than likely than not, it will be. And you know what? I hope it is. But you can't keep on doing this. You can't keep on just feeding illegitimate challengers to Drew McIntyre and expecting people to care. I'm still wondering why Randy Orton wasn't the one to challenge Drew McIntyre. But instead you got him facing The Big Show. The Big Show in 2020. Randy Orton has the most momentum out of everyone on Monday Night Raw not named Drew McIntyre. Why didn't you put him against Drew McIntyre? Where's his WWE Championship match? And on top of that, then you could have built up Aleister Black towards Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam, because Aleister Black, he's only been pinned once in his entire main roster run. He's beaten everyone there is to beat. Cesaro, Sami Zayn, Shelton Benjamin, Akira Tozawa, AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Buddy Murphy. He's beaten everyone. Everyone. Austin Theory. Everyone. Why isn't he getting a WWE title match? He could get the title match at SummerSlam after Randy Orton loses to Drew McIntyre at Extreme Rules, and then you could have had Black go on a redemption storyline to win the Royal Rumble and face Drew McIntyre at next year's WrestleMania. Simple. But no, you throw Dolph Ziggler in there just because of prior history when he has absolutely no legitimate cases after he just lost a feud with Otis, of all people. So Nia Jax comes out. She takes a chair. This is after the commercial. She claims that she was cheated out of the title by a biased referee. Truth came out. He accused Nia Jax of being Akira Tozawa. Akira Tozawa appeared with his ninjas and chased R-Truth away. This wasn't funny whatsoever. Matter of fact, if you thought this was funny, you're the fucking problem with the community. Charlotte, she came out. She mocked Nia for throwing a hissy fit. Nia said that she was built to take Charlotte's crown. A brawl breaks out, and Charlotte injured her shoulder. And that was the story going into her Raw Women's Championship match with none other than Asuka. So the Street Profits took on the Viking Raiders for the Raw Tag Team titles. This went about 10 minutes. This was probably one of the only good parts about the show. This was actually a damn good match. There was one spot before commercial where Montez Ford, he did a Tope Con Hero coming over the top. Eric caught him, and he caught him in a powerbomb position. And you could really tell that these two teams actually like working with each other, because Montez Ford, you have to have a lot of trust in your opponent to do a fucking Tope Con Hero and trust your opponent to catch you in a powerbomb position. And that's exactly what Eric did. Caught him in a powerbomb position and threw him into Dawkins going into commercial. Dawkins got the hot tag coming back from commercial. Big Bulldog. Profits hit the Viking Experience, but Ivar broke it up. Ivar with a handspring elbow. We had a big powerbomb, power slam combination by Eric. Ivar missed a big splash. We had a tag to Montez Ford after Dawkins hit the spine buster, the cash out. And then we had a spear to Eric. Big frog splash to Ivar, and the Profits retain as they should. Damn good match we got. It should have gone another 10 minutes, to be quite honest with you. It was good for what it was, but we should have gotten it for another 10 minutes. And again, you could really tell that these two teams enjoy working with each other because the match, for the 10 minutes that it was, they did a lot in this match. They did a lot in this match. But I'm happy that the Profits retained. They should have retained. And now we look towards Extreme Rules. Garza and Andrade attacked the Street Profits, and then the Raiders saved them. And the match for Extreme Rules is pretty much all but confirmed. Garza and Andrade versus the Profits at Extreme Rules is all but confirmed. And if I was them, to be quite honest, I would give Garza and Andrade the Tag Team Championships and hopefully rebuild them as legitimate contenders, even though they have no legitimate case to be challenging for the Raw Tag Team titles. And the only reason why is because there's nobody else in the division that the Street Profits have, except for Cedric Alexander and Ricochet, but they've been on main event for the last 2 months. So Rollins cut a promo in the back. Said that he's accepted his role while Ray has been defiant, and defiance breeds suffering. He says that the greater good is coming, says that legends never die, but they can outlive their welcome. Rollins, probably the best thing on Monday Night Raw right now in this feud with Rey Mysterio. Charlotte Flair versus Asuka. This was another damn good match. And if I was to be quite honest with you, you could have watched the Raw Tag Team title match and you could have watched this match, and then you could have taken a break until 10:50. Because after this match, nothing on the show happened until 10:50. Nothing of interest, anyway. So Asuka with the sliding knee off the apron. Charlotte with a big boot. Charlotte sent Asuka face first into the buckle going into commercial. Asuka with a rolling armbar, targeting the injured shoulder as she should. Charlotte with a spear, but Asuka got to the bottom rope. Asuka was able to lock in the Asuka lock, and Charlotte Flair tapped out. Damn good match here for the Raw Women's Championship. Finally, I don't care whether it was because of an injury or not, finally, Asuka has defeated Charlotte Flair. So now we can move on from this bullshit. So Edge cut a promo in the back. This was actually an excellent promo. I've loved everything that Edge has been doing, minus the match at WrestleMania with Randy Orton, ever since he came back. So Edge, he cut a promo and he said that Orton can say over and over and over again that he's the greatest wrestler in the world, but at the end of the day, Orton is spewing bullshit. He says that he hit him with an accidental low blow, coincidentally, as I locked in that anti-venom. He says that this injury has made him realize that he needs to unleash a side of him that has not been unleashed in a long time. He says when he punted Christian, the PG guy was put to bed. He's going to make Randy wish Cowboy Bob was firing blanks on the night he was conceived. Now that right there, that was the line, that was the promo line of the year thus far. Edge, right now, I think Edge is personally the best promo in all of WWE as we speak. I don't think anyone has come close to touching Edge's promos this year. That line was savage as fuck. He says that you woke up the rated R superstar. Get some sleep while you can, Randy. This is only making me even more invested into what they're going to be doing when Edge eventually comes back. I can only hope that his injury is not going to keep him out until the fall. I hope that he will be back by SummerSlam, and I hope that we are going to get a match between Edge and Randy Orton at SummerSlam, and we could get Edge versus Randy Orton at SummerSlam. Edge would beat Randy Orton, and hopefully we get Edge taking on Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship at some point later on this year. So Nia Jax attacked Charlotte, smashed her arm in between the lid of a production crate, which, of course, has written Charlotte off of television, so now she can get this surgery. So we were supposed to get a 24/7 championship match between Akira Tozawa and R-Truth. Bobby Lashley interrupted, and he attacked all the ninjas and locked in a full Nelson on Truth. See, even Bobby Lashley, I never thought I'd be so happy to see Bobby Lashley. Even he's sick of this Jackie Chan bullshit. Tozawa then swooped in and pinned R-Truth and won the 24/7 championship. Yeah, can I just point this out? Akira Tozawa, almost a year ago, challenged Adam Cole for the NXT Championship at an Evolve special on the WWE Network in an excellent match, by the way. 1 year later, he's fighting R-Truth alongside ninjas, portraying Jackie Chan on Monday Night Raw. This is what Vince McMahon thinks of Akira Tozawa. Jackie Chan ripoff. Meanwhile, you take a look at where he was a year ago, and you're wondering, what happened to that Akira Tozawa? Why is it that WWE does not allow guys like Akira Tozawa to go out there and do what he does? What, just because he's Japanese? You have to put him in a ninja costume? Why, because he's small? Because he's small, he doesn't have a high ceiling just because he's small? Just because he's a cruiserweight? Even a couple months ago when he was in the Cruiserweight Championship tournament, now he's a fucking ninja? It is disgusting. It disgusts me to see where this guy was a year ago. And now look at where he is. Natalya versus Liv Morgan. Apparently Liv Morgan now is being utilized. Lana distracted Liv Morgan rather, and Natalya got the sharpshooter for the win. And then afterwards, Liv Morgan was in the back, Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan had a confrontation in the back. How can you make people care about Natalya less? You pair her with Lana. No one cares about Natalya as it is. Now you're going to pair her with Lana? So Ric Flair presented Randy Orton as the greatest wrestler ever. I barely even paid attention to this because I had a feeling I knew it was coming. Big Show came out, and I didn't even pay attention to what they even said, because now we're supposed to get Big Show versus Randy Orton at Extreme Rules. I mean, do I even need to explain why that is a shitty idea? Who cares about the Legend Killer? We don't need this Legend Killer beating up all the old guys. He beat Edge and he beat Christian. Fine, that's it. If anything, he could have legitimately challenged Drew McIntyre. You could say, Drew McIntyre, some would say, you're building your own legacy as a legend, as the WWE champion. And now, Randy Orton is the Legend Killer, so he goes after Drew McIntyre. You could easily have pitted Randy Orton against Drew McIntyre. Why do we need the Big Show? Why? Why, just because he has a show on Netflix? First he's in a WWE Championship match back in April, and now he's fighting Randy Orton. Great. I'm not even going to go in depth about that anymore. Iconics versus Sasha Banks and Bayley Women's Tag Team Championships. No one really cared about this match, mainly because everyone thought that the Iconics were going to win, and thank God that they didn't. So Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, they isolated Bayley before Sasha got the hot tag. We had some accidental contact with Bayley. The Iconics went for a reverse magic killer, but Sasha kicked Billie Kay off and then rolled up Peyton Royce into the bank statement for the tap out win. Thank God that the Iconics did not win. Back of the line, now keep the Iconics off of television forever. So Sasha said that she's gotten a little jealous and she wants a title match, so she challenged Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. Asuka came out and she accepted Banks' challenge, and her and Banks started brawling. Bayley got involved, and Bayley and Banks stood tall. Now, I love Sasha Banks. I've been loving the storyline, and it really does play into the fact that now Banks wants 2 belts, but at the same point in time, you already have a roster at your disposal, just like I just named. You got Liv Morgan, you got Ruby Riott, you got Shayna Baszler, you got Bianca Belair, you got Natalya, even though I can't stand the partnership with Lana, and I don't want to see anything with Natalya and Lana. You got all these women at your disposal, but yet you're choosing a woman who is merely on Raw because of the Women's Tag Team Championship rule that they can go to all 3 brands. You can go to all 3 brands to defend your championships. You don't get to challenge someone who isn't even a active member of your roster. And besides, how does it make all of those women look that Sasha Banks can just come over from SmackDown and challenge Asuka out of nowhere? There's no legitimacy and credibility for Sasha to be challenging Asuka because she's not part of Monday Night Raw. I don't care if it's going to be a great match. And yeah, it's going to be a great match, and I will say that it's going to be a great match when we eventually get to the pay-per-view. But at the same point in time, you can't just throw people in there, whether it plays up to the storyline of Sasha and Bayley or not. What are you going to do for SummerSlam? Nia's not going to be competing against Asuka. Charlotte is not going to be competing against Asuka because she's out. Nia shouldn't be anywhere near Asuka because of what's going on and how she's lost 2 title matches in a row. What are you going to do? You're going to have Sasha and Asuka again at SummerSlam? Where are you going to fit Shayna Baszler in there? Where are you going to fit Bianca? Where are you going to fit Ruby or Liv or Natalya? Where? MVP hosted the VIP lounge with Apollo Crews. So Crews, he was being offered again by MVP, but the answer was still no. He said he won't let MVP change who he is. So MVP said that title's going to come home. Shelton Benjamin comes out. He blindsided MVP. Shelton Benjamin targeted the shoulder of Apollo. Benjamin eventually went into the post. Enziguri and tossed powerbomb for the win. And Apollo Crews continues his momentum as United States Champion. I'm actually surprised Apollo Crews won this match. I'm actually surprised that even with Bruce Pritchard taking over, I'm actually surprised that Apollo Crews has kept his momentum. He's been continuing to win. But then after this, MVP distracted Crews, allowing Lashley to come in and lock in the full Nelson on Crews. So now we're going to get Bobby Lashley in the U.S. title picture at Extreme Rules. More likely than not, Apollo Crews is going to lose the United States Championship to Bobby Lashley. Now, why is this happening? Based on everything that's going on, it seemed as though they might have been planning Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. But that's not happening. Mainly because of the fact that all of these wrestlers are testing positive for COVID, and Brock Lesnar's probably like, fuck this, I'm not going to do this. I'm not gonna put my life in danger. I'm not gonna put my family in danger because of the negligence of this shit company. Fuck you. I'm staying home. And to be quite honest, even if there wasn't any negligence, even if WWE tested from the beginning, I still don't think Brock Lesnar would want to work the PC tapings because it's in front of no one but PC recruits. That's probably why we got the match that we got at WrestleMania, because Brock Lesnar didn't want to work the PC tapings in front of nobody. And SummerSlam is not going to be in an arena, and we're not going to have fans. So Lesnar's probably going to stay home. He's like, fuck this. Bobby Lashley was not winning the WWE Championship. He lost 2 back-to-back WWE Championship matches. The only other option for Bobby Lashley was to be a match with Brock Lesnar, and that's not happening. So, more likely than not, they're probably putting Bobby Lashley in this United States title program with Apollo Crews as a consolation prize. They're putting it with Apollo Crews as a way of saying, oh, sorry, we didn't give you the WWE Championship. Sorry, you can't have your match with Brock Lesnar. Here's the United States Championship. And that sucks for Apollo. Why does Apollo have to be a sacrifice because you gotta appeal to Bobby Lashley of all people, who's a waste of a fucking roster spot as it is? Bobby Lashley is the Monday Night Raw version of Braun Strowman. He's worthless. Except Bobby Lashley is a much better wrestler than Braun Strowman. It's not saying much. I don't see Apollo Crews making it out of Extreme Rules with the United States Championship. Unfortunately. Ray and his son Dominic came out. So Ray talked about the fear that he felt when Dominic didn't answer his calls. Ray says that he's proud that Dominic made it out, but he said no matter how big and strong you get, you're still my child. Ray says that he's got to get his revenge on Rollins himself. Dominic says that no, we do this as a family. His family wants a fight. Rollins comes out. Rollins says he doesn't know what to do. He says 2 eyes are better than 1. He got on his hands and knees, put his hands out, like the Messiah that he is. He summoned Buddy Murphy and Austin Theory. And then out of nowhere, following suit, Aleister Black and Humberto Carrillo. They came out. They took out both men. Ray with a 619 to Rollins. And the four of them tried to do to Rollins what Rollins did to Ray after Money in the Bank. They tried to push Rollins' eye into the steps. But Murphy and Theory came to Rollins' aid. And then Rollins tried to pierce Dominic's eye into the steps. But Black and Carrillo saved him. And Rollins, Murphy, and Theory retreated. Now, I don't know what match they have planned for Extreme Rules. I really don't. But I actually enjoyed this segment. I'm not even going to bullshit you. I actually thought this segment was very good. I actually thought that this was probably one of the best things on the show. Outside, like this, it was this and the two championship matches that I named. The Raw Tag Team Title match and the Women's Championship match. Outside of those three segments on the show was terrible. But this segment in itself, I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was very well done. I thought it was very well played out. Now, I don't know what they're doing for Extreme Rules, but at the same point in time, I can only see Ray and Rollins culminating in a match at SummerSlam, considering that is pretty much the money match. I really don't see Ray and Rollins just going at it at Extreme Rules. We could possibly get a six-man tag. We could get Ray, Aleister Black, and Humberto Carrillo taking on Seth Rollins, Buddy Murphy, and Austin Theory. To be quite honest, if I was them, I'd probably do that. Six-man tag, and if they lose, then Dominic has to join Seth Rollins. I wouldn't mind that. But outside of that, Monday Night Raw was terrible. AEW Dark, now, it wasn't necessarily terrible, but this was nothing but an academic dark. Very academic. Nothing that you want to go back and watch. It was pretty much done to just give people wins. Robert Anthony and Brian Cage had a 2-minute match. Brian Cage won with the drill claw. David Ali and Musa took on SCU, Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian. Best Meltzer ever for the win from SCU. I could definitely see SCU being built up to take on the tag team champions at some point, possibly after Fyter Fest. Pineapple Pete and Shawn Spears. Shawn Spears won with a steel plate inside the glove, slipped to Shawn Spears by Tully Blanchard. Shawn Spears gets the win. I don't really know where Shawn Spears is going. We'll see what happens. Giff Garrison versus Lance Archer. Lance Archer. I absolutely fucking love Lance Archer. I love the savagery of Lance Archer. Lance Archer gets the win here, and he's got a match with Joey Janela at Fyter Fest. John Silver and Alex Reynolds versus Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela themselves. Janela and Kiss actually won, and that was that. Kylan King versus Mel. Mel is terrible. I'm not even sure why she's still employed by AEW, but she actually ended up getting a win with a chokeslam spinebuster. So Scorpio Sky took on Lee Johnson, TKO for the win. And then we had Max Caster, Serpentico, and Luther versus Jurassic Express. Modified STF to Caster for the win. Jurassic Express continued their momentum. And then Peter Avalon took on Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy defeated Peter Avalon, heading into his match with Chris Jericho at Fyter Fest. That was AEW Dark. Nothing crazy, nothing special, and we pretty much have another academic AEW Dark coming up next week. Right now, no one really cares about AEW Dark, and I am actually hoping that when we get the crowds back, we actually start getting AEW Dark back to normal. We actually get a legitimate Dark where we get actual feuds and storylines being built up, and we actually get great matches as opposed to just academic matches. But very skippable AEW Dark. Just like Monday Night Raw, it wasn't as bad as Monday Night Raw. The show had purpose to get people wins because of the ranking system, but at the same point in time, I don't think anyone really cares. It's pretty much a cycle of jobber matches on AEW Dark. I definitely hope that we get back to a legitimate AEW Dark sooner rather than later. AEW Dynamite. Decent show, I would say. But ultimately, when you look back on this show, they've really done all they could to build towards Fyter Fest. It wasn't bad. It wasn't necessarily a bad show. But at the same point in time, they've done all that they could to build towards Fyter Fest. and to make Fyter Fest as must-see as possible. So ultimately, this show was decent, but it wasn't really up to par with what we're used to seeing from AEW Dynamite. So Luchasaurus and Wardlow, they had their lumberjack match to kick off the show. Now, it was fun. It was fun at the same point in time, but ultimately, we had a lot of dumb spots, a lot of unnecessary spots. Didn't really seem all that impressive. Again, it was a fun match, don't get me wrong. Wardlow and Luchasaurus are excellent, and it did a nice job at setting up what was to come at Fyter Fest, but ultimately, it just seemed a little out of place. So Wardlow with a big fisherman suplex to Luchasaurus before he mounted a comeback. Standing moonsault for a 2. Wardlow stopped Luchasaurus on the top. Beautiful superplex for a 2. Wardlow with a Hurricane Rana. That was the first time I ever seen Wardlow do a Hurricane Rana. That was impressive in its own right. Luchasaurus with a big Spanish fly. The Lumberjacks started brawling. We had Cutler and Stunt getting thrown into the pile. Tail whip to Wardlow, sending him into the pile. And then Luchasaurus with a standing shooting star press into the pile, but everyone was just looking at him. So that was a stupid spot there. We had a big choke slam to Wardlow, but MJF distracted the ref before Jungle Boy took out MJF. Low blow and an F10. Wardlow got the win. Fun match, but stupid in terms of high spots. Big brawl broke out, and then MJF and Wardlow versus Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus was announced for Fyter Fest. I like it. I definitely like it. It's a nice continuation from Double or Nothing, and MJF is going to continue his momentum. MJF is going to continue his monumentous role towards beating Jon Moxley for the World Championship at All Out. Can't wait to see that. Red Velvet versus Hikaru Shida. Hikaru Shida and Penelope Ford, they're on a collision course to Fyter Fest. Hikaru Shida got in the face of Penelope Ford. Penelope Ford struck Hikaru Shida before the match even began. We had a high knee and a Falcon Arrow for the win in about 15 seconds, and then Hikaru Shida said, fuck this, jumped the barricade, and started brawling with Penelope Ford. Now, I hate the way that Penelope Ford got this championship match. I fucking hate it. But I am willing to give her a chance to see what she can do against someone like Hikaru Shida. I want to see what is to come as far as this women's championship program with Ford and Hikaru Shida. Ford's not going to win, but I want to see what she can do with Hikaru Shida. So we had the TNT Championship press conference. Now, this was actually very well done. I love these press conference type deals. It really gives it a sports-like feel. Gives it a sense of realism. And that's one thing that we really need in wrestling nowadays. We need a sense of realism. So, Hager was a no-show. And Arn and Cody, they were talking about what the match meant to them and what wrestling meant to them. Cody was talking about he doesn't like play wrestling. He takes wrestling very seriously because it's fed him. Arn said that he wanted to piss Cody off a bit. He wanted to piss him off by saying, I don't think you can beat Jake. That's exactly what I wanted. Because when he's fired up, he's more focused than ever. So Hager and his wife arrived. They did the picture of them standing side by side as if it's an actual fight. Now this was my personal favorite part of the entire thing. Hager put his fist right in Cody's face. And Cody just shoved it away. And obviously, Hager's being a prick. And then Hager's wife threw water in Cody's face. And Dustin Rhodes saying, get her back, get her back. Cody saying, okay, thank you, we're done here. I don't know about you, but I thought that Hager and his wife just being douchebags, I thought that was great. I like it, just Hager and his wife just playing mind games with Cody, just pissing Cody off. I thought it was great. So we had Colt Cabana and Brody Lee versus Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela. This wasn't a bad tag team match, but at the same point in time, this storyline with Colt Cabana and Brody Lee, it's pretty much a worthless storyline, and I'll explain what I mean by that. So Colt Cabana and Brody Lee. So Brody came in with a big boot to Joey. Colt Cabana took advantage. They isolated Sonny. Janela he got the hot tag, big DVD to Cabana for a 2. We had moonsaults by both Sonny and Janela onto Lee and Cabana. Big splash and a 450, but Lee broke it up. Sonny took out Reynolds and Silver, but he got big booted by Brody. So then we had Janela going up to the top, but he missed. He got a discus lariat, and Brody Lee hand-gifted the win to Colt Cabana. Decent match, and then afterwards, Archer attacked Kiss and went after Joey. Joey threw a chair at him, but Archer was unfazed. And then Jake Roberts said, whoa, Jake, take it out, take it easy. Don't waste your time. Only do it when it matters. So, we got Janela and Lance Archer at Fyter Fest. I can't wait to see what they do there. I did not mind the match, but ultimately the storyline with Cabana and Brody Lee, it's ultimately pointless because at the end of the day, which members of the Dark Order are really going to go on to have lucrative careers and succeed? There's like 9 members of the Dark Order so far? And realistically speaking, who in the Dark Order can you realistically see succeeding outside of Brody, Stu Grayson, and Evil Uno? Brody Lee's going to be TNT champion. Brody Lee's going to be world champion one day. Stu Grayson and Evil Uno, they're going to be tag team champions. Matter of fact, I've been calling them to be the next tag team champions. I've been calling them to take the titles off of Omega and Hangman. Outside of those 3 people, what, you think Alan Angels is going to go places? You think John Silver and Alex Reynolds, they're going to do anything? They're going to make a dent in AEW? Preston Vance, Colt Cabana, Anna Jay? Who from the Dark Order is realistically going to succeed? Who from the Dark Order is realistically going to win championships outside of those 3? No one. So, Dark Order, outside of those 3, the Dark Order almost seems like a pointless stable. And this storyline with Cabana, whether he's winning or not, Cabana's not going to win any championships. So what's the point? I don't like how Stu Grayson and Evil Uno going after the tag team titles has pretty much taken a back seat to this storyline, and I'm going to talk about that more on the rundown for Fyter Fest with Earl Cole on Monday. But I didn't really see a point. SCU versus FTR. This was a great tag team match, probably the best match of the night. We had a big brawl breaking out. We had a big suplex all over the top, and Kazarian actually landed right on his head. It was a suplex over the top. Kazarian, it almost looks like he got DDT'd on the floor, and he was holding his head afterwards. I'm legitimately surprised that Kazarian continued on. I'm legitimately surprised that Kazarian continued after this spot. If he's not concussed, if he doesn't experience concussion symptoms later on this week, I would be legitimately shocked. It looked nasty. It looked brutal. It's like his head could have cracked like an egg. So we had Dax Harwood coming in with the right and left hands. Big suplex to Frankie on Daniels. Cash and Frankie, they traded strikes. We had a big backstabber kill switch combination for a 2. Kazarian got taken out. Assisted leg drop for a 2 on Daniels. Daniels reversed the superplex for a 2. Big powerbomb neckbreaker combination for a 2. But they hit the Goodnight Express for the win. Great match. And then they called out some of the tag teams in the division. But then out of nowhere, the Butcher and the Blade show up in FTR's car. And then the Lucha Bros make their return. Pentagon Jr. is back. And they challenged FTR and the Young Bucks to an 8-man tag at Fyter Fest, which has been made official. Then we had Brian Cage taking on John Cruz. Academic as shit. Brian Cage wins. Taz came in. And he took the microphone, he's calling out Moxley. He's like, where are you, Mox? Where are you? He says that he's sitting on his ass at home with some bullshit excuse. And you're going to have to ask yourself this question, Mox. Can you stop the path of Cage? I love what they've been doing with Brian Cage. And to those of you who are trying to compare the Matt Riddle situation by putting him in a match with AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship this early versus the Brian Cage situation, two different scenarios. Brian Cage, he's going to lose to Jon Moxley, but ultimately, Ultimately, Brian Cage, he's being put against Jon Moxley as a test run. Because AEW has bigger plans for Jon Moxley in the future. Matt Riddle, do you really trust that WWE has any plans for Matt Riddle to push him to the Intercontinental Championship? You're putting your trust in WWE when they have done nothing but let you down. Meanwhile, AEW hasn't done anything but follow through with a lot of plans for a lot of superstars. They have been making all the superstars in AEW look legit as ever, even in defeat. How do you trust WWE to make Matt Riddle look legitimate in defeat against AJ Styles and then build him up properly for the Intercontinental Championship? Brian Cage is merely being put against Jon Moxley as a test run to see if he can actually hang with Jon Moxley for a World Championship. That way, whether they should invest in him or not, it's all but a test run. There's plans. There's a bigger picture ahead for All Elite Wrestling. They have a plan. WWE doesn't have a plan. They're booking it on a week-to-week basis. That's what you need to get through your fucking heads. And it just goes to show you how dumb you really are. So moving on, we have Big Swole dumping trash on Britt Baker. I actually have been enjoying Big Swole and Britt Baker. Big Swole. Sooner rather than later, if Britt Baker is not back and she doesn't gain enough momentum, I can definitely see Big Swole taking the title off of Hikaru Shida. I think that Big Swole is probably the best wrestler in AEW outside of Hikaru Shida in the women's division. I would love to see Big Swole as the women's world champion. I'd have no problem with it. Matt Riddle versus Santana. We already know what happened with the Sammy Guevara incident. We had a Uranagi to Hardy for a 2. Santana missed the frog splash, side effect for a 2. Matt Hardy reversed the pinfall into a roll-up for the win. Ortiz attacked. He attacked Matt Hardy. Street sweeper to Hardy. Private Party came out. Obviously building towards the match between Private Party and Proud and Powerful at Fyter Fest. And I have been loving what they've been doing with the tag team division. Matter of fact, it doesn't even need to be said, but they have the best tag team division in the world. And I actually think that this match with Private Party and Proud and Powerful could be the sleeper match of night 1. Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho. Their face-off. Chris Jericho said, "Why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side?" He compared Orange Cassidy to the chicken crossing the road joke because the more you hear it, the more you realize how annoying it really is. He says that Orange Cassidy is an embarrassment to the business. Says you better not try that shin-kicking bullshit with me because he's going to make sure that he runs out of juice. So Cassidy took the microphone. He didn't speak. Put it down. He didn't even put his hands in his pocket. He just lightly started kicking Jericho in the shin. Obviously, Jericho was getting pissed. Put his hands in his pockets. Defiant as ever. Mr. Orange Cassidy. Defiant as ever. So, Orange Cassidy then started attacking Chris Jericho. They brawled into the crowd, back and forth. We had Cassidy getting busted open on his right ear. Chris Jericho was about to take out Orange Cassidy, but Orange Cassidy hit a Superman forearm to Chris Jericho off of a platform, through a table, and Orange Cassidy stood tall heading into his match with Chris Jericho at Fyter Fest on night 2. I cannot wait to see this match, and Orange Cassidy is going to be made into an even bigger star than he already was with this match with Jericho. I'm loving this. Decent show, but ultimately nothing special as they've done all they could, and people are just like, alright, can we just get to Fyter Fest already? NXT. I'm telling you, it's becoming really disappointing. It's becoming very, very hard for me to watch NXT. It really is. It's becoming more and more like Raw and SmackDown. It really is. Outside of the triple threat match, there was literally nothing on the show worth investing your time in. Maybe a nice little 3-minute match here and there between Karrion Kross and Bronson Reed, but at the same point in time, I really don't think anyone even cares about that. Cameron Grimes, he was in the ring after he attacked Damian Priest before their match. He said that Priest is afraid to face Grimes. Priest came out anyway with his ribs all taped up. We had a match. The match didn't even go 5 minutes. Grimes defeated Damian Priest. Match didn't even go 5 minutes. And you can now you can definitely tell that Vince McMahon is starting to have a say in the length of time that matches are getting on NXT. Unless you're in the main event, you're not going to get a lengthy amount of time. And that sucks. That fucking sucks. You can tell Vince McMahon is now hampering the amount of time that the undercard matches have on NXT. I don't like that at all. Matter of fact, it's disgusting. So Rhea Ripley, she threw Robert Stone in the dumpster on the outside of the Performance Center. Aaliyah slapped Rhea. That match was made for later. Timothy Thatcher was teaching more submissions. I don't really know where Timothy Thatcher's going. Matter of fact, I don't see Timothy Thatcher factoring into anything right now. Timothy Thatcher, he's great at what he does, don't get me wrong, but there's just so much going on that I really don't see him going anywhere. Santos Escobar, he took on Jake Atlas. This was decent. This was probably the one match outside of the triple threat that you could have actually gone back and watched. It was decent for what it was. We had a big head scissor takedown by Atlas. Atlas was then driven into the plexiglass going into commercial. I actually liked the utilization of the plexiglass there. Atlas came back with a standing moonsault for a 2. We had a moonsault taking out Mendoza and Wilde on the outside. Headlock driver for a 2. Escobar stopped Atlas on the top rope and hit the Phantom Driver for the win. And Santos Escobar, the Cruiserweight champion, stands tall with Mendoza and Wilde. Legado del Fantasma stands tall. I think Santos Escobar is great. I think that Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde in this new role, they've done very well. The presentation has been great. They almost remind me of a Spanish mafia, in a sense. I like that. I like the vibe that they give off, but at the same point in time, the question still remains, why did they join? Why did they join? They haven't answered that question. It's been 3 weeks, and we still haven't gotten an answer as to why they have joined forces. We need that sooner rather than later. They can't just be there. Undisputed Era and Undisputed Therapy continued. It was funny the first week. Not funny anymore. It's really not funny anymore. And don't you even fucking dare. Don't you even fucking dare try to compare this to the Inner Circle. Please don't you dare. Don't you dare try and compare this to the Inner Circle. 2 different scenarios. The Inner Circle has always been a random group of guys that are just doing shit to be funny. Undisputed Era has never been a comedy act. Jericho and Sammy Guevara and Santana Ortiz and Jake Hager, they're just naturally random guys that are just having fun. Undisputed Era, they've never been presented like that. The Undisputed Era aren't just a random group of guys having fun. They're a legitimate stable that has been taken seriously over 3 years versus the Inner Circle, who's only been around for what, like 8-9 months? 8-9 months, and they've always been doing goofy shit from the beginning. They've been doing goofy shit from the beginning versus this just started now. You're trying to switch up Undisputed Era's characters, and you're trying to switch up their severity. Now they're acting like children. Kyle O'Reilly's acting like a fucking therapist. Roderick Strong's jumping in the trunk, and now he's being portrayed as a chicken shit heel against Dexter Lumis. Are you fucking serious? Are you trying to compare the 2 scenarios? 2 different scenarios. Stop trying to compare it just because you're trying to make it a war between NXT and AEW. Please. You look like an idiot. You're more of an idiot than you were before you even opened your mouth on the scenario. Please. Don't even try me. Don't fucking question me. Rule number 2. Don't question DJ Storms. Sit your fucking ass down and only speak when I speak to you. Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter. I love both of them. Versus Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. So Kai and Gonzalez, they isolated Casey. Carter got the hot tag. We had Carter with a running face wash. Casey with the head scissor takedown, but Gonzalez caught Casey. And she kicked Caden Carter with one boot, and then with the other hand, delivered a one-armed powerbomb to Casey. And I actually thought that that was very impressive. Raquel Gonzalez still sucks, but I actually thought that that was actually very impressive. Then we had Dakota Kai coming in with the modified Rings of Saturn, and Kai called out Io. So now Kai is on a 3-match winning streak, and now she has a match next week. It's a fatal 4-way between herself, Candice LeRae, Mia Yim, and Tegan Nox. The winner becomes the first challenger for Io Shirai and the NXT Women's Championship, which we'll probably get at the Great American Bash, which is continuing over the course of 2 weeks. I don't know if you noticed that. And it's a clear-cut indication that they are desperate to beat AEW in the ratings. And they already beat AEW in the ratings this week. I don't even know why anyone would be happy about it, because now Vince McMahon is going to change NXT even more. And it just goes to show you that Vince McMahon and his monopolization mentality still hasn't changed, which I knew it wasn't going to change, because Vince McMahon, and I stated this on my rant, when I ranted about Black Wednesday on the Lightning Flash update 2 months ago, Vince McMahon does not want anyone else to succeed unless it's under his watchful eye. When he doesn't even realize that he needs other companies in order to succeed, because the other companies are going to keep the industry alive. The other companies, whether it be a major company with a television deal, the independent wrestling companies, companies across the world, there needs to be other companies. There needs to be variety in order for the industry to thrive. Because if you are at the epicenter of the industry and all the money's flowing into your pockets, then there is no industry. There is no industry. It's just you hampering down everyone. The industry needs variety, and the industry deserves to have multiple companies. Vince McMahon would rather kill All Elite Wrestling. Meanwhile, All Elite Wrestling has made it very clear that they don't even want a war, which is why they went on Wednesdays. And don't you even dare give me this bullshit excuse. Don't you dare give me this bullshit excuse that, oh, but NXT was already on Wednesday night. It was on the WWE Network at 1 hour, not bothering anyone. Vince moved it to the USA Network to counter-program All Elite Wrestling, because he didn't want All Elite Wrestling to receive the same ratings as Raw and SmackDown would. And All Elite Wrestling has beaten NXT almost every single week in the ratings ever since the launch of AEW Dynamite. They've made it even clear as day that they don't even care. They don't even care about the ratings. They don't care about NXT. They've been doing their own thing, and they've been focusing on what they've been doing. They haven't been worrying about SmackDown. They haven't been worrying about Raw. They haven't been worrying about NXT. They've been doing what they've been doing. Meanwhile, almost every single move that NXT has done ever since the jump to USA, whether it be putting title matches for free on NXT television, whether it be bringing in main roster superstars to build towards Survivor Series, whether it be putting Charlotte Flair on NXT as the NXT Women's Champion, or whether it be bringing back the Great American Bash, it has all been because they are desperate. And it's not NXT that we hate. I loved NXT. What we hate is the tactics of the superstars behind the scenes, behind NXT. We hate the tactics of management. We hate the tactics that Vince McMahon is putting forth, because he just can't let anyone succeed unless it's under his watchful eye. I understand if you want to be a businessman, that's fine, but there's no reason to be threatened by a company that isn't even a threat to them to begin with. If WCW didn't put him out of business, AEW's not going to put him out of business. They don't want to put him out of business. They just want to be there as an alternative to give more superstars work, but they can't do that. They can't do that, and they can't give superstars opportunities if Vince McMahon is constantly trying to hoard superstars away or hamper down their ratings because he sees them as a threat when they're not even a threat to begin with. Karrion Kross versus Braun Strowman. I apologize about that. I swear to God, my voice is going to be dead. I'm going to sound like, I swear to God, I'm going to sound so fucking nasally by the end of every single Lightning Flash update that I do. I'm not even sure I want to do a Lightning Flash update next week. Probably just relax since it's the 4th of July. Karrion Kross versus Bronson Reed. This only went about 2 minutes, but I will say, they went in. They went in on each other. They fucking beat the shit out of each other in this match. So we had Reed coming out of the gate, but Kross came back with a huge punt kick, We had a Doomsday Saito, but Reed came back with a big enziguri and a German suplex, but Cross, he got right back up. They traded strikes back and forth. We had a Northern Lights suplex and a lariat, Cross jacket for the win. 2.5 minutes, but these guys went in on each other. This was a fucking fight for the short amount of time that it was. Karrion Kross remains undefeated. So we had Aaliyah versus Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley ended up winning. Robert Stone tried to throw a shoe in at Rhea Ripley, and Rhea Ripley, like a dumbass, tried to chase after Robert Stone. Rhea ended up winning with the Riptide. It really sucks to see Rhea Ripley in this position because all of her momentum killed because of what happened at WrestleMania. So next week, if Rhea Ripley loses the handicap match between her, Aaliyah, and Robert Stone, she's got to join the Robert Stone brand. That's next week. Next week, we also have Dexter Lumis and Roderick Strong in a strap match after Roderick Strong kept on running away from Dexter Lumis in their match earlier in the night. Kept on saying, "Oh, I'm not ready, I'm not ready." Bobby Fish, no, you were born ready. This chicken shit heel that Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish have been playing, the Undisputed Era, outside of Adam Cole, has been made into chicken shits. And I hate that. I hate that. Johnny Gargano versus Finn Balor versus Keith Lee, NXT North American Championship. This was the only thing on the show, if you really wanted to go back and watch it. Outside of this, show was completely skippable. The show sucked. So we had Lee with a double standing Northern Lights suplex on both men. We had a big sling blade on Lee on the floor. Cannonball sent on by Johnny Gargano, and then both men sent Lee into the steps. Big slingshot spear to Balor for a 2. Tope con hero on Lee. Fast-paced action. That's what I love about a triple threat. Lee came out with a big pescado over the top rope into the ring, taking out both men. And then we had a big tope by Gargano, stopped by Balor, but we had a double pounce by Lee. Big Bang Catastrophe on Gargano. Keith Lee moved out of the way as Finn Balor hit the coup de grace on Johnny, and then we had a Big Bang Catastrophe on Balor for the win. Very good North American Championship match, and we get Lee versus Cole in 2 weeks. Winner take all. And if I was them, I would have Karrion Kross go and interrupt that match and attack Lee. You're not just going to smash the hourglass and get away with it when it comes to Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross, he goes and he faces off against Lee for the NXT North American Championship at the TakeOver before SummerSlam, and Karrion Kross beats Lee. Adam Cole faces Balor. Adam Cole retains. Karrion Kross is the new North American Champion. Then we have Keith Lee. We have Keith Lee gain some wins back, and we have Keith Lee go in, and we have Keith Lee beat Adam Cole in the fall. I don't want to see a double champion. I don't want to see Keith Lee win the NXT Championship while he's still the North American Champion. I don't want to see Keith Lee hold 2 titles if he's just going to drop 1 title in a month and a half. I hate short title reigns like that. If you're going to have a double champion be crowned, then you need to have a double champion be crowned and hold the championships long term. If Keith Lee wins the championship, then that means more likely than not he's going to drop the NXT Championship to Karrion Kross, and I don't want Karrion Kross to be NXT Champion this early. Matter of fact, I wouldn't even be surprised that Vince McMahon is behind the early push of Karrion Kross. I don't like that at all. Smackdown. So they started off, now the show was a complete waste of time. I mean, like, again, tape recorder. Tape fucking recorder. I really don't know what I can say that I haven't already said, that everyone in the community has already said. No one cares about SmackDown. Some people weren't even watching SmackDown live. I was talking to some people in my DJ Storms Posse group chat. They weren't even watching SmackDown. So, the only thing that I realistically think that anyone gave a shit about was the beautiful tribute to The Undertaker. A beautiful 3-minute tribute to The Undertaker started off SmackDown. Then we got the Boneyard match being replayed from earlier this year with Styles and The Undertaker. Listen. I understand the wanting to pay tribute to undoubtedly the most important character in the history of the industry, and probably one of the greatest of all time. He's the greatest of all time in my eyes. Undertaker's the greatest of all time in my eyes. But at the end of the day, you have a pay-per-view. Extreme Rules. You have a pay-per-view in less than 4 weeks, and you're wasting 45 to 50 minutes on the Boneyard match with The Undertaker and Styles. As great as it was, we've already seen it when you could have actually been putting effort into building up legitimate storylines and making people care about the pay-per-view. And it just goes to show you how lazy and complacent they really are. You got a pay-per-view in less than 4 weeks and you're replaying the Boneyard match in the first 45 to 50 minutes of SmackDown? So Baron Corbin was in the ring. He was mocking The Undertaker, calling him an old bag of bones, called him an ass-kisser, said that he sucked. Hardy came out and attacked Corbin, and the match was made for later. Obviously, they had to rewrite the entire show because of the COVID incident. So Alexa Bliss versus Nikki Cross versus Dana Brooke versus Lacey Evans. Number one contenders, Fatal 4-Way. Winner was going to face Bayley. Yeah, like we haven't seen this before. Like we have not seen this before. Just goes to show you how shitty the women's division really is. Alexa Bliss, Dana Brooke, and Lacey Evans all in the same match. If you want people to change the channel, you've just pretty much answered that question. You've pretty much given people all the more reason not to watch SmackDown by putting those three women in the same match. Nikki Cross ended up winning. I'm actually surprised that Nikki Cross ended up winning. I actually called Nikki Cross to win. Why? Why? Because Nikki Cross is the only one out of these four that can actually wrestle. Here's what I don't understand. And WWE, they did it again. WWE has 3 championship matches set for Extreme Rules, and the 3 challengers for the 3 respective championships have zero legitimacy and credibility in challenging for those championships. Nikki Cross does not deserve to be challenging for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. Her and Alexa have been doing nothing but losing. She just lost to Sasha Banks last week on SmackDown. Dolph Ziggler, no reason for him to be challenging for the WWE Championship. He just lost a feud with Otis. Sasha Banks, no reason for her to be challenging for the Raw Women's Championship because she's not on Raw. WWE, they do this time and time again. They always just put a challenger with no legitimacy or credibility towards a champion, and they just expect people to care because, hey, it's going to be a great match, and we're WWE. And yet they want to know why the ratings are under 2 million. New Day in the Lucha House Party versus Miz, Morrison, Cesaro, and Shinsuke Nakamura. Instead of doing an 8-man tag, couldn't you have done Cesaro and Nakamura versus the Lucha House Party, maybe? As a way to actually build up legitimacy in the tag team division with people outside of the tag team champions? Actually build up legitimacy for someone like Lucha House Party or people like Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura instead of doing a stereotypical 8-man tag. That way you could have built up momentum for one of those two teams. If Cesaro and Nakamura are eventually going to be taking the titles off of the New Day, why didn't you just do something like Lucha House Party versus Miz and Morrison and actually build up Lucha House Party as legitimate challengers for Cesaro and Nakamura when they eventually take the titles off of the New Day, which I believe they will. Lucha House Party and New Day win. So Braun Strowman came out to address Bray Wyatt. So Braun Strowman, he says that when he first met Bray, he felt fear. The fear that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. The fear you feel when something is wrong. He says that it's fear that makes a grown man tremble. He talks about a night in the swamp. He talked about how a snake came out of the swamp, slithering towards Bray's lantern. He was going to stop him, but Bray said, no, that's my friend. And Bray knelt down towards the snake, did Braun Strowman say, and he started biting Bray Wyatt repeatedly in the face and all Bray Wyatt did was laugh. And he says that he knew right then and there that Bray Wyatt was the serpent. He was the devil himself. From there, he started doing the devil's work, and he says that he loved every second of it. He says that he's done everything in his power to keep that part of himself locked away, but he can't do it anymore. He said, let's go back to the swamp. And he challenged Bray to go home, and he said he's ready to turn the place of his creation into the place of Bray Wyatt's destruction. Let's go home. And he laughed maniacally into the camera as Bray Wyatt's laughter echoed throughout the PC. This is probably the best thing on the show. That's shocking for me to say. This was probably Braun Strowman's best promo since his feud with Roman Reigns. And that's saying something. Never in a million years would I be saying that Braun Strowman was the best thing on Smackdown of all shows. But he was. This was actually a very good promo. And to be quite honest with you, Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt in a cinematic match, that could possibly be the best way that you could make a Braun Strowman match enjoyable, because no one's going to care about Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt in a regular match. No one's going to care about Braun Strowman versus The Fiend at SummerSlam. They only care about The Fiend getting the Universal Championship back. So at the end of the day, this is probably the best route that they could go. This is probably the best route to make the match, the feud, and the show as a whole just a little bit more enjoyable. I didn't mind this at all. Jeff Hardy versus King Corbin. Jeff Hardy won, and then afterwards, all the baby faces came in to attack Corbin, and they paid tribute to The Undertaker. That was that. The show sucked. 205 Live. There was only one match on this week's 205 Live, and I'm not even going to lie. Isaiah Swerve Scott and Tony Nese gave you perhaps the best match in all of WWE all week on 205 Live. For 20 minutes. These guys went out there, they gave you a great match. Didn't really mean too much, and realistically, it was just a setup match for Isaiah Swerve Scott to be Santos Escobar's first challenger, and Legado del Fantasma is actually debuting on 205 Live next week, but if you want to go out and watch this match, it was actually a great match. I'm not even going to bullshit you. This was actually a great match. Isaiah Swerve Scott and Tony Nese, they're awesome. Very technical to start off the match. Side headlocks and leg locks. Nese targeted the back of Scott. We had a springboard moonsault for a 2. Scott countered Nese's suplex into a suplex of his own. We had Swerve with a sunset flip powerbomb, but Tony Nese countered with a spin kick for a close 2 count. We had Swerve come back with some heavy right hands, stiff right jab to the face. We had an elbow to the back, punt kick, and a roll-through flatliner for a 2. Nese caught Swerve in a Boston Crab. Swerve broke the hold, pump handle, side slam by Nese for a 2. Nese sent Swerve into the steps, and then Nese with a beautiful 450, but Swerve grabbed the rope. Nese tried to bring in a chair, but the ref told him not to. Swerve took advantage with a super kick. Nese was dangling off the apron. Swerve with a slingshot stomp. And I'm telling you, Nese landed hard on the floor, right on the back of his neck. Looked brutal here. Big diving stomp in the ring for the win. Great match here between Swerve and Nese. Better than anything that we've seen all week for WWE. I would even say it was probably better than the North American Championship match. If you want to, you can make your judgment there, but I thought that this was a great match. And then afterwards, he called out Santos Escobar. So it looks like now that Legado del Fantasma is debuting next week on 205 Live, it looks like that Swerve could be Santos Escobar's first challenger for the Cruiserweight Championship, which I would not mind at all. That wraps up the weekly show reviews, ladies and gents. A very, 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 very productive week as far as wrestling goes, as far as note-taking goes. I would like to thank each and every single one of you who tuned into this video. I greatly appreciate it. Check out all the links in the description. Like, comment, and subscribe. As always, hit the notifications bell. As always, checking it out. Check me out on YouTube. Go back and watch all the videos that you missed over the course of the last few months. I got the rundown for Fyter Fest Roll Call coming up on Monday. Rewind for Fyter Fest coming up on Thursday. Possible Lightning Flash update on Saturday of next week. I will keep you guys updated as far as that goes. Thank you guys as always. I'm DJ Storms. This has been the Lightning Flash update. You guys have a great weekend. I'm going to go and relax. I'm going to go get some homemade pizza. And I'm probably going to go check my schedule from work. I actually got to get some college work done as well. But I will keep you guys updated on everything. I'm getting you guys the best possible content up throughout the rest of the summer. I got plenty more collaborations coming for you guys. You guys are not going to want to miss a thing. It's going to be good. But then again, everything's good with DJ Storms. You're always going to have a good time with DJ Storms. Thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate it. God bless you. You guys have a great weekend.